Let's play Major League Baseball.
You trying to say Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball?
One more curveball, and that should be about it, because Derek Bell isn't even coming close. Here comes the hook. Got him! 20 strikeouts!
Holy cow! You don't know how to play first base. Scott? That's right. It's not that hard, Scott. Tell him, Wash.
It's incredibly hard.
And a high fly ball hammered deep toward right. Back goes Kearns. It's a grand slam for Lee. Oh, that's got to make him feel great.
Funky. Butt loving.
Wind up and the pitch. Montero drives one in the air. Deep right field. It's got a chance. Grand slam. Grand slam. The count, Montero. Like a big doggy. You like the red shoes or the blue shoes better?
Like that. I like the blue shoes better. Way out of here. Oh, my gosh. Onto the roof. He hit it onto the roof across the street. I have never seen that. On top of the building.
I just figured out why the Cubs lose every year. They got more talent in the stands than they do in the field.
A little bouncer slowly toward Bryant. He will glove it and throw to Rizzo. It's in time. And the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
You gotta fight for your right. Did he say funky butt loving?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Rebel North podcast. I'm Ivan Vargas. That's Josh Schwarber. That's my buddy, man. What's going on, dude?
What's up, bro? How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. If for you guys that are watching, this podcast is dedicated to the Chicago Cubs, and we'll be talking everything Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm doing great. I'm doing really great. I know Theo's gone now, which is sad, but I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better about the Cubs and where they're going after that press conference from Jed Hoyer. Some of the things that he said I liked.
Yeah,
I really liked talking about going outside of the organization to find a GM. Some of the challenges he was talking about with Theo, hey, that's cool with me because some of the moves Theo made, I questioned myself. So, I mean, it was fun to see. It was fun to see the Cubs, win the World Series, be consistent-ish, I would say, because I felt like that, the end of that tenure from Theo was a little rough. But it's fun to see all that, and it's fun to see change as well. And I think Jed's going to do a good job. I don't think he's going to be, I don't think he's going to be Theo by any means, and he doesn't have to be. But I think right now, for getting the Cubs back on track to being a serious World Series contender, I think Jed Hoyer is going to be the right man for the job.
Yeah, I think definitely Jed, he has his hands full with this team. Let's be honest, Theo didn't leave him a nice present of, good things to go and do for this team. He has some challenges ahead of him. One of the things is, getting pitching for this team and finding a new GM and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think Jed Hoyer has his hands full, but I think, he's going to be right for the job. He's going to have to make some tough decisions coming tomorrow with some non-tender deals coming on. So we'll see. Yeah. Yeah.
And some of those guys, KB being one of them. And I honestly don't think they let KB walk. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
You need him for leverage and you need him for your team. If you're going to keep him on your team, I mean, obviously you need him because you need a third baseman, former MVP. But if you're going to go ahead and make a move and make a drastic change in where this organization is going, you're going to need Kris Bryant to be on the team, and so in order to make a trade or some type of move to get pieces in here, because and it has to happen quickly. We talked about it has to happen soon. Like if it's, and you talked about the Cubs saying, hey, if you're not making a move by spring training, then Kris Bryant's going to be a Cub and try your luck in free agency. And I think the Cubs are going to go ahead and do just that, man, because who wouldn't want to go? Who wouldn't want to go ahead and get the most you can for Kris Bryant? Like I said, former MVP, World Series winner. The guy's, I mean, we know he's good at that third base.
Yeah,
he's a solid third baseman.
Yeah,
why not take the risk? I mean, he has been hurt, and he said he was healthier, and they've been talking about him being healthier during his workouts. In the off season and such, but there's still lingering doubt in my mind on whether Kris Bryant's the guy here. And I told you, I was like, I feel like some guys, even though he had success here early, maybe he benefits from moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some uncomfortability gets him to be the player that, producing. Or maybe it's just he needs to get healthy.
Yeah, I think he just needs to get healthy and try to go back to his 2016 form. I think with Kris, it's always been health. He had the shoulder injury, he had the knee injury, he had the fingers, and he hasn't been healthy since 2016. So, if the Cubs are going to compete for a championship, they need him to be 100%. They could get to the playoffs with him being 90 or 85%, but to win a championship, he needs to be 100%. And yeah, we're going to see if this Wednesday the Cubs tender him or not. And I fully think that they're going to offer him that tender, and he's going to accept it, and he's going to be a Cub. And like you pointed out, you go after some of these teams that are in need of third basemen, like the Nationals and the Dodgers, and you tell them, like, hey, right now is the time to talk. You get Kris Bryant for the full season. If you guys don't make a move by spring training, forget about the talk, and he's going to be a Cub for the rest of the year.
And I think that's true, but barring if the Cubs are in contention.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If the Cubs aren't in contention, I fully expect them to make any type of, push for any offer that would go ahead and get them something back for Kris Bryant.
If the Cubs are the best team in the National League going into the trading deadline, I don't think they're trading Kris Bryant.
No.
If the Cubs are in third place or fourth place and they're deep in the wild card, behind a bunch of teams, then they're probably going to start thinking about trading Kris Bryant then.
I'd start thinking about trading not only Kris, but trading a couple other people as well. Man.
If you're
get as much back as you can at that point, right?
At that point, for sure. Yeah, there's a couple other pieces that we could talk about that we think that could haul in some value back.
Yeah, and we're gonna get to that in a little bit, but there's some more guys that are out there that the Cubs are gonna have to make a decision on. Kyle Schwarber, Albert Almora Jr. Jose Martinez's name's out there, but bye. See ya. He was
supposed
gone.
to be the left-handed power hitter, right?
Yeah.
Right now, the Rays just released another left-handed power hitter or left-handed or right-handed hitter that crushes left-handers.
Yes.
In Hunter Renfroe.
Yeah.
So maybe the Cubs kick the tires in that and let Jose Martinez go.
Yeah. But I feel like that Hunter Renfroe thing might be a flash in the pan. When he was with San Diego, he hit some. I think he hit about 20. I think he was about a 20 home run guy, hitter.
Somewhere around
there. Maybe if he's consistent, if he stays consistent.
Yeah.
But he's a guy that scares me. It's like you're going to go ahead and give a guy like that a contract who's like, let's kick the tires on him. I just feel like the contract's going to be too rich, and he's going to end up being what's the guy that we signed that we cut number 21? He took 21 last year.
Yeah, Steven Souza.
Souza. He reminds me of a Steven Souza.
Yeah, they released him in the middle of the year last year. So Jose Martinez, we could forget about him. Kyle Schwarber, he is an interesting player because the Cubs are trying to wait and see if they're going to have another DH this year for the 2021 season.
I told you. I told you that they were going to try to backdoor that shit, dude. I knew. Well, as soon as they were like, all right, and I understood it for this season. But as soon as they were just like, it was a unanimous type of a thing, I thought that at least there was going to be a push to fight it. There was no push.
Yeah.
And everybody loved it. So as soon as that happened, I was like, this is going to be forever.
Yeah, right now there's no word on it. And I'm sure the Cubs are, itching and waiting to see what the MLB is going to say. But they got a decision to make tomorrow if they're going to tender Schwarber or not. He's owed like $8 million this year coming up. Mm-hmm. So that's he's didn't have the best year.
No,
hasn't really been the guy that has hit for high average. He had that 1 year in 2019 where he hit almost 40 home runs.
I'm telling you, dude, I think they need to just stick. If there is a DH, just stick him there.
Yeah, if
keep
there's a DH,
keep him and stick him there.
I think so too. But if there's not a DH, And, people criticize his defense. We think he's made some improvements, but can you get better? Sure. So do you let him walk?
I mean,
those are some of the decisions that Jed Hoyer is going to have to make.
Well, yeah, we talked about Schwarber. We talked about KB. That Kyle Schwarber ties into one of the other guys, Almora. Now, if you get rid of Schwarber, you pretty much have to keep Almora.
Yeah.
Because now you're talking about going ahead and trying to find. I mean, unless you're going to bring him up, up from the system. That I don't haven't heard any names.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe one or two, but unless you're going to do that, one of those guys has to stay.
And you and I both aren't really a big fan of the player Albert Almora.
No.
He's just hasn't done it since he's been drafted, and his value has diminished greatly since he's been a Cub. So I wouldn't be to feel too bad if he walked away, but he might get re-signed because that would be a cheap contract right there.
It would. It's just he doesn't do enough for me, man. And I know that cheap contract that's all fine and dandy, but you're gonna have to put him out there then, unless you know you got somebody that's gonna beat him out. We already know how well he does in spring training. He shows off in spring training. And then it's oh yeah, Albert Almora's on fire. He wins the job in spring training, and then all of a sudden, he goes into the regular season, and you're like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
Get him off my team.
I wouldn't be surprised if they let Schwarber go. They move Ian Happ to left field, and they keep Almora and give him another shot at being the everyday center fielder. I don't want that to happen. I'd rather keep Schwarber and keep Happ in center field and say bye-bye to Almora, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right. If Schwarber's going to be – if you think it's going to be too much to keep Schwarber, then, it's you have no other choice. But
to keep Kris Bryant and Schwarber?
And Schwarber, yeah. It's –
because you could always move Kris Bryant to left field.
And who plays there? Bodie? You just move. You just put. Who's gonna play?
Bodie, you got Bodie locked down for a few years, and he's owed some money.
Yeah, the thing is that there's not gonna be a big free agent splash.
No,
that's the whole. That's what should be.
Want is pitching.
Yeah, that's what should be said first and foremost. Is there's not gonna be a big free agent splash. No. But there should be an abundance of free agent acquisitions. Mm-hmm. Either you pick them up or you're at least looking at players.
Yeah. Especially
pitching, because
we need it. Yeah.
It's a necessity. It's something that it's something that we've seen in the past few years. It's man, when it gets depleted, when it gets low, it gets low.
Yeah. Yeah. We need guys with high velocity coming out of our bullpen. We need a closer that could, actually lock down saves for us. And we need, a number 4 and number 5 pitcher in our rotation.
And we're talking about that, look at, and I know we're kind of mixing up our little schedule here, but I really don't care because we're kind of scatterbrained like that. But, it's going to be like that, like you said, Bryant and Schwarber. That's might be asking for too much. Unless you're going to go ahead and trade Kris Bryant right away. Yeah. Unless you got somebody on the hook for Kris Bryant right now, I think it'll be difficult to go ahead and to keep both of them. I just don't want to see Almora, dude. It's. I think I'm done with that, Albert. I know who he is. We know who he is.
Yeah.
We know who he is as a player, and if it's a matter of money, I'll take my chances with somebody who's out there. You know what I'm saying? Albert Almora Jr. has shown us who he is, and his defense has even diminished. Mm-hmm. So it's
he has no value.
Why exactly? There's no value for Albert Almora. So why is he still on the team?
Yeah.
Why would you? I understand why. In this situation you would consider it because, well, you need somebody cheap, and you're gonna if you lose Schwarber, if you keep Bryant and lose Schwarber, where are you at now? But for me, Albert Almora Jr. is one guy that just he cannot linger around anymore.
No, he's probably someone that is in need of a change of scenery.
Send him to Miami. Let him go down to Miami.
Yeah.
Let him go down to Miami. Let him go down to Tampa. You know what I'm saying? Let him go down somewhere. Let him go to California, wherever. So see if Joe wants him with the Angels. I don't care. Albert Almora Jr. is I'm done with him.
Joe would take him.
Joe would take him. I bet Joe would take him. Joe would take him just like he would take Carl.
Carl, yeah, CJ.
Carl, because remember he thought Carl was going to be the second coming of Dwight Gooden. Is that what he thought? Is that what he thought Carl was going to be? Dwight Gooden? I don't think so, dude. It's moving on a little bit. You got a Jose Martinez, like I said, it's not going to be there. But these trade candidates, there's other ways Cubs could go ahead and make a splash. So pretty much a statement. It's not like saying we're not going to compete, but it's saying we're going to go in a very different direction, and that's by trading one of these guys. You know what I'm saying? And we talked about KB, but the other two guys that are out there that we think that obviously will get the biggest haul. Number one, Wilson Contreras, and for me, this is for both of us. I think this is the easiest one, and I wanted to get this one out of the way because the next one is going to be a little harder to sell to Cubs fans.
Yeah.
But Wilson Contreras, as much as I love his passion, love that he's love his defense. He has that pop. How long is this going to last? Like, how long are we going to see this athletic Wilson Contreras? How long are those legs going to last as a backstop and as a hitter with pop?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He does have some speed. Unless you're gonna position flop or swap, I don't see him in a couple years being as valuable as right now. So for me, Wilson Contreras is the number one guy I would be looking to trade in order to get some something quality back.
Yeah, definitely. You could trade him to an AL team, and they could use him as a DH. He probably would benefit as being a DH here in the National League if they ever did come up with it 100%. I think, yeah, you're right. You get the most value for Wilson Contreras. You see what he is. He's, an all-star catcher, cannon of an arm, could hit you 25 to 30 home runs on a healthy year, could be the leader of your team, and, can control the run game for you. It's hard to say it, but yeah, he's the one that is probably the number one guy outside of Kris Bryant that is a trade candidate for this team that you could get the most back for. It sucks, but you got Miguel Amaya in the minor leagues, who is going to be close to being ready, major league ready, and then you still got Victor Caratini on your team that could be either the starter or the backup. So there's options, They could always bring back your boy Josh Fegley too.
Yeah, I don't want that, dude. It was a pointless move. And I was like, man, and I get why. Because you're like, what if you're going to save the catchers? Like, the catchers didn't look like they needed their legs saving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Fegley was just on the roster for no damn reason when you needed more pitching. And you kept sending pitchers up and down. Like, why don't you just send the guy away, DFA him, whatever the hell you want to do, and bring a pitcher up here that's going to stay up here.
Yeah.
Because we obviously needed more pitching than we needed a catcher.
Yeah.
No, don't get me started. That was just, I didn't understand. Like, what did you think? What did you think it was 2016 again? Think you're going to strike? Lightning was going to strike?
Yeah.
No.
Lightning doesn't strike twice.
No,
in
bro.
the spot, man.
It was weird to me, but either way. So Wilson, number one trade candidate, and I think what you have to ask for Wilson is probably, like, if you're gonna go the pitching route, you're gonna have to ask for a starter, maybe a couple prospects on top of that.
Yeah.
And you don't need it. I'm not talking about high prospects. I'm just talking about guys that you're like, hey, I'll kick the tires on this young guy, but you're gonna need somebody that's major league ready coming back right out of the gate. But I mean, you're gonna have to find that team. I don't know if they got that team. I don't know what team out there is gonna want Wilson Contreras for what the Cubs should be asking for.
Well, you got like 2 years of control for Wilson right now, so there's gonna be teams interested in him. It's not like he's a 1-year rental kind of guy, so you could still get some return value back. You might be able to get a team like Tampa Bay, that could use, a guy that could hit 30 home runs for them for a couple seasons that is, under control for a few years. Or they could flip after 1 year, if he has a good season with them. So
now some of the guys that, I think you're right. And I was thinking about more or less trading him to like Wilson to like a Miami.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a upstart team, getting a bunch of young guys, trading him to not necessarily banishing him, sending him off to isolation, but like sending him to a team that's rich with prospects and going after those guys, and not necessarily trying to rate them, but like see, just see through what you think is quality and go take a shot.
I think though with Tampa Bay, you're going to get a lot of pitching prospects or options from that team. That Tampa Bay is just that team that always has pitching up coming up through their system. So I think a trade with them would make a little sense to me. And
I mean, very much. We're talking about like it's really heartbreaking. Like we're talking about trading these guys, right? You got to do it's reality, dude.
Reality.
It's got to.
In 2016, I wanted to keep everybody. I'm like, this is the team that we're keeping. They're going to keep winning titles. And you know what? They haven't.
Exactly.
And we've given them chances and everything.
I was expecting it to be blown up at 19. The middle of 19, I was like, dude, this is the same team.
I thought they were going to blow it up at 2018.
Exactly. I was like, this is the same team. I was like, no. I was like, there's something stale.
Yeah.
There's something stale. Then you like started rotating bench coaches and shit. I'm like, no, dude, no. This is not the way. Mm-hmm. This is not the way. So you're right. Like there was a certain point quickly after that World Series title where I was like, no. This is not the direction.
Yeah, totally. So,
the next guy, I mean, like we were talking about, it's going to be tough. It's going to be Javy.
A lot of fans are going to like hearing it.
Yeah,
it's reality.
It's reality. Javy and Kris.
Javy Baez right now gives you a lot of trade value. Mm-hmm. If you keep him, though, and say the Cubs do, and I hope they do, he is one of those players, though, that will diminish. His body is not going to hold up at the position he plays and at the high level he plays at. Mm-hmm. He's going to be one of those players that is going to have to either move to another position.
He plays reckless.
Yeah.
And it's 100%.
Yeah.
And that's what you want, but it's like, how long is that going to last?
Exactly.
How long is that going to last? And I mean, there's guys out there, that you could really go make a run for if you put, these guys, if you put these guys in a position where it's like, hey, I don't want to say put them in a position. If you put the team in a position where you go up to them and say, hey, look, thank you, but we're gonna need to figure this out between us. Because we don't like, it's just got to be a real talk. Honestly, they gotta be like I know Kris and Javy both. They don't want to go, but you gotta seriously talk to them. How do you expect to keep all of you?
Yeah.
How do they seriously expect to keep all of you? You can't.
No.
So for me, Javy would actually. It would be a surprise, but it wouldn't be a surprise to me if they found somebody. I think they would just take a lot of backlash because he's such a fan favorite.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I don't like that because it handcuffs the organization. Like, as a fan, you don't want to handcuff your organization if you have a chance. It might look bad at first, but what if trading Javy gets you a couple guys that end up being cornerstones for the next title run?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and he's a great player, and we've seen him grow and go from a guy that struck out 200 times in 50 games to a guy who's great. So we need to make those tough decisions sometimes, and so yeah, he's one of those guys that are who's a trade value for us.
Yeah, and it sucks, but it's got to be done, dude. Like I'm not trying to wait another 2 decades, 3 decades, 100 years to watch this team get into the World Series. Baseball's a tough sport. I understand it. It's definitely tough navigating the free agent market in baseball.
It's tough because you get emotionally attached to these players, man.
Right, and because it's like you when you get these guys, some of these guys are there for a while.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. This isn't like you're going to get a rotation of new guys.
And let's be honest,
in and out.
Javy Baez isn't a Theo Epstein or Jed Hoyer draft pick. That was before.
That was Henry, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Jim Henry.
Yeah.
So they just inherited him, and he ended up being this great player. So he's not their guy, realistically.
Yeah, but it goes back, like I said, it goes back to the fans, and I don't know why you would. I mean, at shortstop, yeah, defensively, yes, but these past couple seasons, like let's be real, he didn't win that MVP. He had an MVP-like season, but he didn't win that MVP.
Well, that's because Christian Yelich had such a great freaking season.
But my point is, it wasn't one. If he has the hardware, then it's a different. So it's just like Kris Bryant. We make an argument to keep Kris Bryant because he won an MVP. Javy is like, no, what is Javy? Javy's a great player. What has Javy done? Like he's gotten close, but then you see strikeout after strikeout after Jesus Javy. And we talked about the cameras, the video.
Yeah.
The video in between.
He's one of those
bats.
Players that definitely needs the video to help him make those adjustments. Yeah.
Right, he's a video guy, so I understand. I could understand that, but how long is that going to excuse fly if this happens again, or if you have an inconsistent year? I don't know. It's going to be tough. These decisions are going to be tough. Javy, if he stays, if he goes, I'm happy. To be honest with you, because I know if we trade him, you're getting something back. You have to get something back for Javy Baez.
Mm-hmm.
Kris Bryant makes the most sense, although, and he just makes the most sense because he's pretty much like this is it.
Yeah, if you could trade Kris Bryant to our, the much hated LA Dodgers team, but they got so much prospects that they could give you in return that could be major league ready right now because they're one of those teams that just keeps developing guys, then do it. He could be there for a season, and if they want to, overspend and keep him, which I don't know how they could afford to overspend and keep all these guys, Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, Clayton Kershaw and Walker Buehler and all those guys, and afford to keep a Kris Bryant locked down for whatever, that'd be crazy. But if you could trade him to a team like that that's loaded with prospects in their farm system, then do it. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, trade him to the Yankees. Trade him to the Red Sox. Trade him to wherever you could get the most back.
Yeah.
Trade him. You're right. I don't want to become emotionally and I've been distancing myself from trying to become emotionally attached to these guys. And it was after 18, 19, 18 around 19, I was like, all right. Everybody, every one of you can go. Anyone who's going to get the most out, who's going to get the most in return for. Yeah. And I just want the Cubs to win. That's the thing. You want the team to succeed, and it's tough because you found yourself at a point where your pitching is not there. And you got these guys. You got these big names, and these big names are the ones that are going to end up bringing in what you need, and that's pitching. And I think you're right. You go and you trade Kris Bryant to a team that's ready to win that needs one more piece, or a team that has plenty of riches and just wants to be richer, and like the Dodgers. Get the most back you can from them. At this point, the Cubs aren't going to win the World Series next year. It's like that's how I feel. It's just not going to happen. The Cubs are about 2 years out from really getting my attention and saying, "Hey, watch the Cubs again," and watch the Cubs. Period. But watch the Cubs again because it's rough. It's rough trying to make an excuse of why this team should succeed next year.
Yeah, I mean, if all you're hearing is that the front office doesn't want to give the GM or Jed Hoyer money to go out there and re-sign these guys because they're saying that COVID impacted them so badly, then yeah, it's going to be tough to watch the same old Cubs team that could win the division, but is going to get bounced out in the first round by a Miami Marlins team,
Yeah, and we've seen this story before, man. Like we saw it with the Rockies.
Yeah,
we saw it. We saw it a couple times already, and for those, it's like for me, I'm done looking back to 16, looking back to 17. I don't know why people look back to 17. Like I'm like that team. You knew we weren't going to be there. Like a part of me knew. I was like, these guys are all old. Like you could see them withering and fading in that postseason. You saw it before your eyes. That pitching staff was like, yep, old. Right then. That's when it got old. And I want to say it was it was game 1 of the NLCS. That pitching staff was old. And you don't want to get into that mode of like, oh yeah, look, we got to like remake that team. Like I think you need to really like look at what the Red Sox did after they won the first one, right? Mm-hmm. I think they were gone for a while.
Well, there's one thing there that I want to point out is Theo Epstein makes championship teams right away. Mm-hmm. He's never won back-to-back championships.
Nope.
He's won 3 championships in his career, 2 with the Red Sox, 1 with the Cubs. None of them were back-to-back. They had some years in between. So that was always like a flaw right there that you kind of seen that he had that where he had that mentality where he was like more emotionally attached to the players than maybe the fans were. And he stuck with these same players a little too long instead of trading them and trying to get the team to that back-to-back level again.
Right.
And maybe that's going to be the difference between him and Jed Hoyer, where Jed Hoyer is probably more of a manager vice president than a guy who's going to be the rock star president that Theo was, where he was having celebrities hanging out with him and
that's the type of thing that like after the World Series, that was the type of thing that I was worried about. Like even with Joe Madden's restaurant and shit right outside the stadium. It's like, come on, man, you're taking away the attention of the team. Like you're taking too much attention away from the team because now everybody's like, all right, we're paying attention. And that was cool with 16 that Joe was that kind of the jester to like keep everything at an even keel with the media because the Cubs were like 500 for a while.
Yeah.
But he kept it even keel with the media and, they ended up being successful. But after that jester was just distracting the fans from the fact that the Cubs were not making the right roster moves.
Yeah.
That the Cubs were struggling, that the Cubs were not hitting with runners in scoring position, and they have not since the middle of 17. I mean, to me, it was just like, if you want to look back at it like that. Like I think those days are dead. Those days are dead with Jed. I think Jed, like you said, will be more of a managerial type of a executive.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's probably why he wants to bring fresher eyes into the GM role instead of promoting from within and helping him, make those tough decisions,
Right.
So it makes sense. It all makes sense. He's probably more in line with trying to make this team a championship contender instead of a team that's just going to make the playoffs. That maybe Theo was more. And, he was more thinking that way and being like, hey, if we make the playoffs, anything could happen. That's eight teams, who knows, where Jed might try to be building that championship team, that's the team that's going to win no matter what.
Right, and that's what I expected.
Yeah.
When you're talking about sustained success, that's the team. And for a while, like you said, it looked like that.
It looked like it, but then after that 2016 season, there wasn't a lot of moves, and then 2017 especially, you held on to some of these guys, and then 2018 when you got knocked out by the Rockies, everyone was kind of like, time to finally get rid of some of these guys, and then that was it. So it was he hung on to him a little too late. And
another thing I want to point out too is that a guy beating a dead horse. You hung on to Joe too long. If you were Theo, I think if he was like, man, screw this, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it, and like showed a little bit of grit towards like, you know what, no, Joe, I'm not gonna give you the other year. Boom, gone, and reset it right then. I think right now we're talking about a little bit of a different team. I think we're talking about I think they go after David Ross still.
Yeah.
But the structure of the team, I think, is different. I think, you have a whole year under David Ross. Now you know what guys he wants. Now you know what guys are David's guys. Now you know what your team, you have an idea of what your team is going to look like the next 2 to 3 years, right? So then you can you would have been better off making moves right then and there. But like you said, you became emotionally attached to players in Boston. Became emotionally attached kind of to the man. I mean, although there was problems, like you were like it was emotional in the sense of you were afraid if you got rid of Joe, everybody's gonna hate you.
Mm-hmm.
That's being emotionally attached. Now it's emotional. You emotionally handcuffed yourself.
Yeah,
is what you did. So I just, like I said, you can't beat Theo up. Like you got the title. It's just
ultimately he accomplished his mission.
Yeah.
He came in, he built up the farming system for us. He made the team relevant to everybody outside Chicago and won us a championship. Did we get more than one? No, but he accomplished that mission right there. So can't hate it on it too much, but I think that's going to be the difference between him and Jed Hoyer right there, where Jed Hoyer is going to try to maintain that championship success and keep building on stuff like that. And he's got some tough decisions to make today and tomorrow to hopefully go towards that championship success, and hopefully he makes the right moves. It goes with his brain and not his heart,
That's part of what I think is going to be the difference. It's going to be a little more, a little less emotion when it comes to making some decisions.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call Theo a maverick, but maybe some of them were a little maverick, some of the decisions. And then some of them weren't. Some of them were just like, we're just going to keep it even keel. We're just going to like keeping Joe for that other year. And then like giving the team pretty much giving the team an ultimatum, the team and Joe an ultimatum, win or else. It's like at that point I was like, Dad, no, like this is not going to work. But like I said, I feel like we're in a good place. I said this at the beginning of the show. I feel like we're in a good place with Jed. Part of me at the beginning was like, Jed, and then I'm just like, I just keep reading more, keep hearing more about what, keep hearing him as the voice instead of hearing Theo as the voice. You're like, all right, I can see where our philosophies can line up.
Jed had plenty of opportunities to go and be a vice president or president of baseball operations at other teams, especially after the 2016 season. And he chose to stay with the Cubs and be with the Cubs. So in my eyes, he's a Cub guy.
Yeah.
He wants to be here. He signed a 5-year extension to be here. He's committed to trying to build this team into a championship team again. So I'm all in on Jed.
All in on Jed.
Yeah, I mean, you count his tenure with Theo, that's 9 years. now 5 more years on top of that. He's almost 2 decades in with the company with the Cubs. So
yeah,
I gotta be all in.
I think, and we're gonna wrap that up. I think we're all in on Jed. I'm all in on Jed. I know that. Yeah, I just change this type of change and the way it's felt right. You know what I mean? It's just felt this is the time. This is the right situation because now, I mean, honestly, who's really looking at the Cubs?
No, I mean, you look at that Central Division, the Cubs are still, in my eyes, the favorite to win that division. The Reds losing Trevor Bauer, the Brewers not making any attempt to be a championship team anymore or a contender for the playoffs. The Pirates are going to be in the cellar again.
Mm-hmm.
The only team that's going to maybe give the Cubs a little bit of a tough time is going to be the Cardinals. And those guys are they develop great players in their farm system, and they rely on that talent. So if the Cubs, just continue to do their thing, and Jed Hoyer makes smart moves and bringing in the right people, the Cubs should win this division and be in the playoffs again.
I hope you're right. Because it's for me. I don't see how this team contends for a title next year. I can see them contend for a division.
Yeah,
title is going to be.
The championship is going to be a little bit different because we need Jed Hoyer to a couple years to make that happen. It can't happen like right this second. It's going to take him a year or two, especially after this COVID year. And the minor leagues didn't have a full season, so players weren't all in camp and everything. So it is going to be a little different this year and next year. I think by the end of by 2022, 2023, that's where I see the Cubs championship contending again.
That's about right. That's about the spot I see it. Well, who knows? We thought they were 2 years away. What was it? 2 years away
in 2015.
Yeah, in 15. We thought they were 2 years away. In 15, we thought 16 was going to be the hey, we might do something this year, and look what happened. So
exactly,
we never know. I think just let Jed, let him work. Let's see the first move.
Yeah.
Let's see the real first move.
Yes.
And then let's go from there. But right now we're gonna wrap things up here on the Rebel North podcast. Good talking, man. We gotta keep doing this every week.
Yeah, let's do it again.
The more and more we keep doing, we build up to it. The better the podcast gets.
For sure.
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and take off. Hopefully we see some moves quickly from Jed. Hopefully they're the right moves. I mean, shit, even if they're not the right moves,
they're not all going to be right.
They're not all going to be the right moves, but even if
we
need some action when it comes to talking Cubs. All right, guys. Until next time, I'm Ivan Vargas. That's Josh Ward. We'll see you later. This has been the Rebel North Podcast.